Tonight, the gloves are off as war of words rages between members of parliament in a not so fashionable language. The first to fire salvo were ODM members of parliament, and Kieleweke attached MPs who accused Deputy President William Ruto of launching ghost projects, and once again called the deputy to respect the head. And in what looked like a proverbial right of reply, more than 80 MPs, composed of a mixture of Tanga and DP supporting MPs, reminded their bitter rivals of their numbers in the House, banking impeachment threats, while asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to dissolve the government, while chest thumping of their confidence in the Deputy President. But as the fractions continue the back and forth, we make sense of the politics of isolation, impeachment, threat, and much more. Good evening. I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Thank you for making time for us here on TV47, the home of untold stories. You're watching TV47 Spotlight. You can be part of this discussion. Tweet us at TV47 Spotlight. Remember, you can send us a text on 22047 and call us in on the numbers on your screen. My guest in studio to my immediate left is Ben Mulwa, a political analyst. In the middle is Mudiora Kariara, a political and governance analyst as well. Didmas Baraza, Kimilili, Member of Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you for making time for us. Given what we saw today, the Deputy President being accused of, and I quote again, the Deputy President is guilty of public misconduct and grave malpractice and has not lived up to the oath of office. This a statement read by Baringo Women Representative Gladys Cheriot and Kadhiani Member of Parliament Robert Mbiu without providing any evidence, any particular, to the guiltiness of the public misconduct and grave malpractice. Surely this can easily be treated as though it is the back and forth politics we are used to, isn't it? Kariara, let me start with you.
Well, it clearly is. You don't have to put a lot of effort to discern what's happening. It's the cheap, toxic politics that we've been subjected to since this government took over. And it's simply because they have nothing better to offer. They have failed to deliver, and so they're taking us in circles. It's just one big circus that should come to an end.
And when a member of parliament is saying so in an indictment to the Deputy President's impeachment, you still think this is the back and forth that we are used to?
Yes, it is. Because what they're doing is, I just mentioned that they have realized they'll not be able to deliver what they had promised to the people. So they're just now about deflecting, pointing fingers, when in fact those fingers should be pointing at themselves. What they forget is they have lost way, just like those to whom the fingers are pointed. These people should just pack up and go home.
And these people, I presume you mean those in government?
I mean our elected leaders, starting with our president, his deputy, everyone that we elected in 2017. Igava ijiuzulu, tuanze upya.
Isn't that not too radical, as I finish it with you? Isn't that not too radical to call for an entire government basically giving up and resigning?
It's what this country needs at this moment. This government has failed. This administration has proven that they are anti-people, and anti-people regimes have no business being in office. It's a high time Kenyans smelt the coffee and now demanded that the whole government resigns and goes home.
Fair enough. Let me bring Kimilili, Member of Parliament Didmas Baraza, to the equation. When your colleague in the House from the same party, Moses Kuria in this reference, says tuko tayari kwa uchaguzi, tuko tayari serikali ivunjiliwe, tuko tayari kwenda kwa debe. Why will a Member of Parliament from the ruling party, if not coalition, flaunt an idea of wanting to break their own government?
You know, because our own government has now lost focus. Instead of focusing on the delivery of the Big Four agenda, now we are focusing on the petty politics that had been planted into our party by members of the opposition parties. And these members of the opposition parties, you know, for a very long time, they have been visionless, they are rudderless, and whatever they say today is expected because we are competitors.
And isn't that not too radical for a Member of Parliament to say, urging the President, not him only, the 80 who seem to be in echo with him, calling for the President to dissolve his government?
Kenyans went to the elections to elect President Uhuru Kenyatta. On the same ballot paper, the name of William Samoei Ruto was also there. So the two gentlemen were elected as pair. So if the president can allow his friends, led by Raila Odinga, to continue abusing the deputy presidents, so we have just said that if indeed he doesn't have confidence in his deputy, then he should dissolve government so that we go back to the elections. Because as it is now, it is easy for any Kenyan to divorce your wife, but it's very, very difficult to impeach or to ask for the resignation of the deputy president.
And we'll come to the impeachment question. And before I get Ben to the discussion, we haven't seen the president publicly, to be fair to him, call for the DP's onslaught and the politics that we see meted on the deputy president. One will assume that his quietness may be an issue, but we haven't seen him.
Yeah, but you know, if you are the head of the family, you must instill discipline in family members. The discipline that we instill, it doesn't exclude visitors. Even those who are visiting, you must read the Riot Act so that the family begins to flow in one particular direction. And people who have gone to school, silence means concurrence.
Fair enough. Karela, you want to react to it?
Yes, I would like to dissociate the calls that Didmus and their team are making from the statement I just made, which is the position on the ground amongst Kenyans. For them, they are coming out at this point asking that the whole system resigns because they no longer have the opportunity they had when they were eating. When they were eating and were comfortable, it was none of our business. Right now that they are in the cold, outside the tent, they now want to make it our problem. So please.
And you are particular in saying when they were eating?
Yes.
You're very particular in saying so.
Yes.
So fair enough. Let me bring Ben to the discussion. Ben, when you see members of the ruling party having disagreements, one will say it's democratic disagreement. We're in a liberal democracy, hence we can disagree. But when to the extremes of calling for the impeachment of one side or even the president disbanding the government, is the center failing to hold it?
Of course it has. And Abubakar, there's something that I find extremely traumatizing as a Kenyan today. Foremost, it worries me a lot that we have members of the opposition, ODM members of parliament, be they Senate or National Assembly, who suddenly appear and portray themselves as more Jubilee than Jubilee. And in fact, it bothers me that they have even the audacity to start discussing the internal affairs of Jubilee as a party. I mean, it is the highest form of conmanship in politics, in my view. And when we talk about the calls either for the impeachment or for the disbandment of government, one thing we have to agree, and I have no apologies to make about this, President Uhuru Kenyatta has completely failed to provide leadership within his party alone. Because as the ruling party, Kenyans, the mandate that the government of Kenya holds today is in the hands of Jubilee as a party. It is not in the hands of Raila Odinga. It is not in the hands of any other of the people who are shouting out loud there. So when there fails to be leadership in that framework, then a lot of things are bound to go wrong. And we have been consistent pointing out to this discordance. And now we are where we are, where we have two political sides that have chosen to grandstand and are actually threatening even to bring down this country, to destroy this country. The kind of politics we have seen today.
Let me interject you at that point.
Yes.
You say this is the greatest political conmanship that you have seen.
Yes.
The excuse the other side often gives is we were welcome to this house, courtesy of a handshake.
It is, but you see, I cannot welcome you to my house, and then when I would wake up in the morning, I'm wearing a blue tie, you tell me, no, you have to go back and put on a red tie. I mean, it is irresponsible and bad manners in the general African context. But when you critically look at where we are, you know, we have not arrived at the outbursts we saw today overnight. It has been a consistent process.
And let me ask Didmus that question.
Yes.
Where then can anyone trace the genesis of this discord within the ruling coalition too?
You remember when the handshake happened 2 years ago, some of us, including the deputy president, we warned Kenyans that this handshake, we welcome it, but there are two sides of the handshake. We have the one where Uhuru Kenyatta stands, in support of the handshake that brings Kenya together, that tries to address some of the problems that have been developed in this country. But on the other side, where Raila Odinga stands, is just about conmanship. Conmanship is making someone believe in something that you yourself is not true. And we were keen to say that if Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga had a 5-point agenda, Raila Odinga has 3 extra that Uhuru Kenyatta is not aware of. And we've seen, actually, our fears are being confirmed.
And why would the president of a country not be aware of a hidden agenda to an agreement he initiated?
Being a president doesn't mean that you are a genius. Doesn't mean that you're able to read the conmanship in one person. It's a matter of trust. You're trusting a particular individual. But Raila Odinga wanted to use this handshake to advance his conmanship by planting seeds of discord in the Jubilee Party. That's why immediately after the handshake, they begin to insult the deputy president in the pretext of that the handshake was between 2 people only.
So, and is the bitter fallout squarely on the issue that the deputy president has not been welcomed to this BBI?
Yeah, and we have no problem with that. All we are saying is that Kenyans will go to the ballot to elect the President of the Republic of Kenya on the basis of how they have sold their vision. So if you think that William Ruto has an inferior vision for this country, then put your superior vision on the table and the Kenyans will make a decision. But I don't want to begin engaging in underhand dealings that you want to now. You are really crying that the government should address electoral injustices, and you are the one perpetuating electoral exclusivity. So we shall allow people to campaign freely, to associate themselves freely with a person whom they think their ideology is better, and the Kenyans will make a decision. But these issues, this business of trying to block someone, the way they did in 2013, by attempting to block Uhuru Kenyatta, that he was a criminal facing charges in the ICC, I think that is not going to work. And the Kenyans are getting tired of it.
Ben, you want to react to that?
Yes, one thing that really disturbs me about what we witnessed today is the fact that those who are calling for the impeachment or the resignation of the DP and those who are calling for the disbandment of the government are not addressing any of the issues that Kenyans are facing. Today, it has been unearthed that the Tallow oil project was a scam. Yeah. I would have expected today members of parliament to be furious about the CSS and even the PSS and all the government officials who are involved in that scam, because initially, you remember when the president was in Turkana launching the transportation of oil from Turkana to Mombasa on wheelbarrows, he categorically stated that we are going to use the funds we are raising from oil exportation to settle the debts that we have, particularly the Eurobonds. Now today we are slapped with a bill of 200 billion shillings. Yeah. Those are critical and grave oversight issues that I would have expected those allegedly warring sides to be addressing. But they are not both.
The government has lately,
yes.
And as far as 5 PM said,
but unfortunately,
I want just to tell my brother that today, we are discussing about the contents of the press conference. But before we went to the press conference, the business of the House was continuing. We were in the House today in the morning. Even in the afternoon, we were in the House transacting.
It's fair to say it was overshadowed.
So it should be,
it was overshadowed by this.
You should find time and visit the Hansard and see what members of parliament discussed today.
Oh, I do that every day. But what I'm trying to point out is the prominence that they are giving these sideshows, because in my view, these are necessary sideshows. They are not adding ugali on Wanjiko's plate. They are not reducing the price of tomatoes in the market. And it is completely responsible for leaders to continue engaging Kenyans on these kinds of outbursts that are not adding value to anybody. We cannot insist on running a country in a framework whereby it is about individuals and personalities at the expense of 47 million Kenyans.
Fair enough. Let me ask Mudhora Kariala, it's getting hot inside here, not primarily because of either way the discussion or the temperature inside here. Let me ask you this question. Isn't it not a fact a given fact that anyone who is seen supporting the deputy president is seen as though they are inviting their political troubles?
Well, looking at the data we have so far, it's true to make that assertion. But then, it's also true that the allegations that are against these people have an origin, which is someone dips their hand in the cookie jar in the first place. So, in a way, when you have a thief chasing after another, you should be happy if they clip them, because at the end of the day, you'll end up with one thief less.
And do you draw a comparison between this thievery that you are giving as an example and the reality on hand, which is anyone seen working with the deputy president is as though they're inviting their political trouble?
Well, the trouble is Kenyans are not paying attention to the kind of debate that my friend here just gave, that we have real problems. Politics does not affect our daily lives in terms of making it better. It does not improve our quality of life, and yet that's what we give prominence in this nation. So let us dissociate personalities from how we are going to run our affairs. We are forcing it on people that if you're not talking about Ruto, then you're not relevant. Let us just focus on what matters, and that is, number one, this regime orchestrated and supervised looting of public resources. He's just confirmed that today in Parliament, before this other sideshow came up, they were talking about important matters such as Talo slapping the government with a bill that we don't even know how we will start to pay. So let us focus on the issues. And number one, the most important thing is this regime has failed Kenya.
And on that point, we'll have to take a short break here on Spotlight. We'll be back with this discussion and much more after this break.
Peterson, tumefutwa wote.
Yawa, pia wewe.
Tumeachiliwa.
Si pia wewe unaweza anzisha biashara yako.
Na hii economy venye iko tough sana.
But not too tough for Mwananchi Credit.
Tutafanya aje?
Si niko na 5 good cars. We can get a quick logbook loan approved within 6 hours.
Nataka kuanzisha salon na spa. Hii haitatosa.
Si tuko na title deeds pay. We can still get more money using them. Get a quick approval within 6 hours using your logbook or title deed. Do not get stuck. Call Mwananchi Credit today. Si nilikwambia.
You are a big smart joke.
Mwananchi Credit. Investor in people.
Welcome to Woodland Resort, carefully positioned in a tranquil environment to give guests an almost private stay with the advantage of being in a serene and spoiled surroundings. We have a tailored, bespoke and transparent travel itinerary that are personalized with individual guest preference. Our well-trained, warm and friendly service personnel attend to guests, offering them fresh traditional meals sourced locally and matched with our chef's culinary skills to ensure consistent and rushes feedback from our clients. Woodland Resort, for comfort and elegance. Located in the outskirts of Kitale town, Kitale Webuye Road, opposite St. Joseph's Boys Kitale.
right, welcome back. You're watching us live on TV47. This is Spotlight. TV47 Spotlight is the hashtag to use. Send us a tweet, send us a message. We'll be able to sample some of your views. Joining us now on set, earlier introduced my guests, is William Kamket, TRT Member of Parliament. Mheshimiwa, thank you for making time for us this evening. Let me ask you this preamble that I've asked all my guests tonight. Given what we saw today, the threats of impeachment, the political discord in the country, will it be fair to say that there is more discord now than ever before?
Yes.
And does that signal a failure in bridging the divide?
It may signal that failure, but the major instigator is the Deputy President.
Why him?
Because he is the one who, from the outset, showed no intention of cooperating with the President and Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga in embracing the handshake. You know, everything began with the handshake. So from the very beginning, he showed a lot of discomfort in embracing the handshake. He came out guns blazing. And he has been consistent and persistent in bashing the handshake. Why are you looking at me like I think I'm lying? I'm saying it as it is.
I'm listening to you.
Make your point, Mheshimiwa.
He's looking at me with bad eyes.
No, he'll have his time to respond.
I'm listening to you.
So that is the reality. So the major cause of all the political upheavals in the country now is the impatient politician in the name of the Deputy President.
You say impatient. Let me interject you at that point. You say impatient. There are those who say he's fearless in questioning a process that he was not necessarily involved from the beginning.
You know, if he was supposed to present himself as that fearless politician, he should not have allowed himself to be a running mate of the President. Because as a good deputy, yours is to say, yes, sir, yes, sir. And you bid your time, because the boss is always right. But this is a case of defiance beyond measure. And like I keep saying, well, choices have consequences. He will have to deal with the consequences of his defiance. And those are the consequences that's what's happening now. What's happening currently are the political consequences of early campaigns. We never hear this, I mean, that gentleman anymore talking about the agenda. Was it Big Four?
Big Four. And fair enough, we have seen him launch a couple of projects. We'll come to that.
You will now see him going to launch a bus of a primary school somewhere.
Which is still development. We'll come to that. We'll come to that a little bit.
You will see him going to buy.
Fair enough. We'll come to that a little bit later.
It's a very pathetic situation.
Mudeora, let me ask you this question. Whereas it may be a reality that Deputy President's political career within the government may be dimming, isn't it not the case that his political career outside, seemingly from what we see in these rallies, is shining?
To be truthful, the Deputy President's strategy in posing as a victim is working. And why it's working is because, like you just mentioned, Mheshimiwa here looked at Didmas wondering, why is he looking at me like that? And I would just like to confirm that it's the guilty who are afraid, because they know the game they are playing with Kenyans is not meant for the good of Kenyans. The BBI project, that's the elite's game. It has nothing to do with Kenyans. And the fact that...
Despite the 9-point agenda being relatively touching on Kenyans, you say it has nothing to do with that?
I'll tell you, the handshake was the best idea that was born in Kenya since the discovery of fire. But its baby, the BBI, that was a bribe that was given to Raila Odinga so he can make way for the system, as we've had, the deep state to perpetuate itself in power. whatever Kamket and company are pushing has really nothing to do with uplifting Kenyans. The 9-point agenda, our constitution covers most of that stuff, and yet we've not implemented it to the latter.
And is there a problem? Is there a problem thematically addressing some of the problems in this 9-point agenda? Just to be fair,
there is no problem.
Fair enough. Let me bring Mheshimiwa Didmas to the debate. And the DP seems to blame much of his political worries on the system. He is the deputy president. He is a member of the National Security Council, which is composed of the military, the police, the National Intelligence Service. He is briefed by the cabinet, with the president. He's part of the system, isn't he?
You know, when you talk of part of which system, we only have state departments that are anchored in the constitution, others in the acts of parliament.
And who is he blaming these systems for?
It's just a group of people. Maybe Kamket knows them. Just a group of people. There are not more than 5 people who live in proximity within the circles of power, within the State House, within the office of the president. That the same people who have direct lines to the DCI, so they can misuse the DCI to run around.
Didmas, do you want to convince Kenyans who are watching this show tonight that the deputy president, who is privy to military, police, and intelligence surveys, intelligence reports, is not part of a system? He can't know the few individuals who you say...
Which system?
The one he's blaming.
I think everybody knows, not new in this country. Even today, newspapers have been running stories that even the former vice presidents, at times, they are frustrated by a group of people, a clique of people who think that they will continue occupying power until eternity.
Didmas, just admit that the deputy president fell out with the system. Just admit
Which
that.
system?
The one that worked for
bring
him during the first term.
Let me bring Mheshimiwa William Kamket to the discussion. Given that Didmas says there are few individuals who could be knowing more than a deputy president of a country, how dangerous is this system then to Kenya's democracy, if at all it exists?
No. You know, what exists in the fertile imaginations of people like Baraza and perhaps his friend, the deputy president. Because, it's quite unfortunate if that is the thinking, if the deputy president has advisors, and one of them is Mheshimiwa Baraza, Didmas here. If you have advisors who tell you that you are in there is you have imaginary enemies called the system fighting you, and then therefore you create a crisis in your mind, and you have a mentality of siege, you're shadow boxing. That's a very dangerous person. In my view, that is a person who should be isolated, like a coronavirus.
Let's not get to those extremes, Mheshimiwa.
No,
I understand we have Julius on phone. Julius is calling us.
What do you want me to say? I'm saying we have a dangerous person who should be isolated. Because when you have a person at the level of the deputy president, having that mentality of siege, he thinks that some people are fighting him, some system somewhere, some imaginary enemies.
Given that the former vice president...
That is very dangerous.
Given that the former vice president...
That person should not be holding public office.
Given that the former vice president, who is Wiper Party leader, also hinted as though there is a deep state...
No, forget about that. Let's focus on the current scenario.
But he, who served as the deputy president some times back, also says there is a deep state.
I am saying there is a problem. There is a problem. And that person... Can you imagine a person holding state power at the second highest position in the land? And the person is telling us imaginary stories.
And from the experience,
there are some ghosts fighting him.
And from let me interject you at that point. And from the experience of a man who served,
that's a person who should have some. He should be in hospital to be checked.
Fair enough. You have made your point clearly. From the experience of one man who has served in a very similar position and who equally says there is a deep state.
The only thing I can let me I see what you're pushing.
No, I'm not pushing. I'm asking.
Okay, the line you're pushing. Let me put it this way, very simply. If it is about political scheming and machinations by people opposed to the deputy president, that is normal. Come on, the deputy president is in office thanks to political machinations and schemings by himself and the president and others. And when they were doing it, it was very sweet. When they were doing it against others, it was very sweet. Now, my friend, Mukuki, tamu kwa nguruwe, chungu kwa binadamu. That's normal.
Fair enough.
But now to tell us that some people want to kill him, to go to a funeral of a man who has been killed in his office, and then tell people that it is him who should have died, come on.
Did you want to respond to that?
I think I want to tell Kenyans to ignore listening to Kamgate. He's among the very few Kenyans whom, when they speak, even the country bleeds. Because his discussion is full of a lot of dishonesty. And I think if KANU has their own personal problems with the deputy president because we are political competitors, I think we should not plant this in running of the government. You know. And if there are people who should be isolated, is Kamgate.
Is it not fair?
Let me finish. You know, Kamgate, you should leave the issues of corporate governance to me to educate you. You can educate me about cattle rationing.
Let's not get personal. Let's not get personal.
In that field.
Point made.
But in terms of the way a government is run, this man is lost.
Fair enough. Let's have a good discussion. Let's not turn this to a game of musical chairs. He has made his point. But is it not fair to question when the deputy president, for instance, says there are people who are fighting him within the system? Yet he is the second person in command in the country. Shouldn't that not be open to challenging and questioning?
Have we not had a scenario where that the DP's functions, even the DCs, have been given marching orders not to attend? Have you heard of that kind of scenario? Did you hear that?
Is there a coup within your government?
Did you hear that a few months ago his residence in Mombasa was taken over to a prostitute who lost even to a police officer who invited a prostitute who lost a gun.
Which begs the question, is there self-sabotage within your party?
Absolutely, I fully agree. There is sabotage within the Jubilee party.
Ben?
And we should not run away from it.
Okay.
We should be very honest.
Point, man. Ben?
No. It is very interesting listening to these guys because it is the same problem I told you. And let me tell you, the greatest liability this country has today and tonight is the parliament we have. It is a disaster. It is an embarrassment to this country. And we have individuals who have completely refused to address themselves to the challenges that Kenyans are facing and chosen to subject us to a lot of bickering that adds to very little.
And why do you say so?
I want to challenge a position
Ben, why do you say so?
I want to challenge a position that Mheshimiwa Kamgate has taken here, indicating that, the deputy president is supposed to be saying yes, sir, and all those things. I don't hold forte for the deputy president, but I want him to challenge me based on the statutes, on what Constitution is referring to, where it says the deputy president is supposed to be sitting and saying yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, or what is unconstitutional about what he's been doing. You see, we need to be able to present to Kenyans the facts and not emotions, because what I'm listening to here are baseless emotions that are trying. People have taken funny positions based on the dislike or the like they have for individuals at the expense of Kenyans. At the end of the day, what we need to be hearing is the deputy president, because one of the key things I know that has been coming out very prominently is all manner of allegations of corruption around the deputy president's office. As we started, Mheshimiwa Kamgate was not here, and I talked about the scam that the tallow oil has been. Those are the issues Kenyans want to listen to. When you talk about the many Kamata Fridays we have experienced, I remember a headline I read indicating that Kenya Pipeline lost 70 billion shillings. I want Kinoti to come on TV the same way he came the other day about Kenei and tell us, take us through, show us bank statements. This money was paid to Mulwa, this money was paid to Mudiora, this was paid to Baraza, this was paid to Abubakar.
Then in your opening statement, you have dented the image of the parliament. Yes. And just to be fair,
so to me, that's why when you see parliament being being dragged into these kinds of issues, yet there are critical oversight and areas that have been missing out. As we speak, we have an Auditor General's report that has indicated in the last financial year we lost close to 1 trillion shillings, or at least that close to 1 trillion shillings cannot be accounted for. Those are the things Wanjiku wants to listen to down there. Not about who thinks they have more muscle, going back to elections, impeaching people, dissolving government, and all those kinds of things.
Whereas the House business goes on without being televised as much as the politics.
We have the answer. We have the answer.
Just to be fair, whereas the House business goes on as scheduled, without it being given prominence as the politics and the disagreement is. Is there a problem if members hold hard lines in as far as their political interest is concerned?
Well, you see, the reason why the Constitution places 3 responsibilities, primary responsibilities on members of Parliament: representation, oversight, and legislation. This component of representation is actually the most fundamental of all of them, because it is drawn from Chapter 1 of the Constitution, where sovereign power is actually delegated to Parliament. So the expectation of Mama Mboga, who is selling in Marikiti or in Lokitaung or any other part of this country, expects when Mheshimiwa Kamket stands, he should be speaking to the issues affecting to those people and doing everything to ensure that the kind of pilferage that we have seen over the last 7 years is not going unpunished. Why I'm talking about the issue of why Parliament has failed, because all these scandals that we have been treated to in newspaper headlines, all these are issues that have been highlighted in the Auditor General's report. Even as recently as end of last year, we saw Parliament actually sitting to raise the debt ceiling. Yet we know Kenyans are groaning under the debt issues. So ultimately, it will be important, because we cannot have a disorganized executive and a bickering Parliament and a judiciary that everybody is complaining about stalling the war on corruption, and expect this country to move forward.
Fair enough. Let me ask Mheshimiwa William.
At some point, one arm of government must level up, sane up, and agree to take charge, so that this country, the political temperatures we are witnessing are totally unnecessary, so that now Kenyans can at least begin to move forward.
Mheshimiwa William Kamket, seeing the political prominence that we are seeing, has the House failed Kenyans?
No. You know, Parliament is a house of laws, and it's made up of human beings who react to current situation. So this gentleman here is very unfair to us as parliamentarians, saying that Parliament has, you know, today, let me tell you, I brought to my bill on equalization fund was passed today, one of a very important bill in this republic. I didn't even know about that. Today there was a livestock bill, livestock products bill, which we passed in Parliament, and many other bills. I mean, the Parliament is doing its job. But you see, Parliament is also a house of politics. And so when politics is served on the table, we must be able to eat it.
And are the drums of politics beating louder than the drums of the interest of people?
Well, politics is always louder than
the interest of people.
That's normal. Politics is always loud, because politics is about power, and it's about individuals, and it's about resources and that kind of stuff. So it's only normal that there is noise. But as I said earlier, the decibels have been raised by an impatient clique. This one of Kinabarasa here, who keep their minds have stopped. You know, their minds have stopped completely, and they are talking about 2022. You know, there's 2.5 years to go. These gentlemen and ladies, plus the leader whom they follow, they will go to any length to I mean, they will go to a project, saying they are going to launch a project. They talk about a project for 10 minutes. The rest of the 3 hours or 5 hours, talk about 2022. Come on.
And just to be fair to all sides, isn't that not a replica of what we also see elsewhere across the political divide?
This other one is a reaction of what they are doing.
And why do you have to react to someone who is making it?
Because we live in the same country, and we are like, we want to tell them, please, our brothers, can you relax? But in any case, anyway, let me just say this. Since they have brought these things upon themselves, since they have brought all these issues upon themselves, they must be prepared for the consequences. political consequences. Political consequences.
And they in your
of
statement
their
is
early-
reference to?
Sorry?
They in your statement is in reference
What I'm saying
to the Jubilee coalition?
is that now, when you play politics, you know, action and reaction. That's normal. So therefore, they should not be crying. They should not be saying, "Oh, this one is being done against us." Oh, this one is, come on, you began it. Please, utavuna ulichopanda.
Fair enough. And a night where you have mentioned of patience and impatient, I think
I just want to respond to what Mulwa said about failure of Parliament, maybe to arrest situations where funds are lost. Parliament, we have done whatever is within our mandate quite diligently. Our role in terms of aiding the Auditor General of the report is to adopt them with the floor of the House, which we have always done. And once a report is adopted, and if they have audit queries, it's upon DCI and the EACC to take the file from there. We investigated Ruaraka land where Kenyan lost a lot of money. We did our report to go and find where the report is. It is. Let me finish. It is Parliament doesn't prosecute. It is EACC and the DCI that prosecutes people who have who cannot explain where the money that they were given by Kenyans went to. Now, coming to what Kamget is saying, you know, two wrongs that cannot make a right. And if they have a problem with the way, in the manner in which we are doing politics, let them invent their own good way of doing their politics. Then we will meet somewhere in front there. But I want to tell him that even if they are threatening us that I don't know, reaction, I want to tell him that we don't leave our brains at home. Yeah, and we are also fairly prepared. We know each and every step that you are doing. And let me tell you, the difference between, opposition MPs and us who are in Jubilee is like day and night. You know, one member of parliament for Jubilee represents like 6 members of KANU with this kind of reasoning, because these fellas are confused.
As we take a short break,
they never got an opportunity to form the government. They are in some confusion somewhere.
Some of your colleagues from the Jubilee Party, a section that you side with, seem as though they are in government but on the opposition hand of the government.
Those ones, they have already gone to ODM. No, there are only two major political formations in this country. We have Jubilee and ODM. Forget about even the other political parties. These are non-entities. There are only 2 political. KANU is not even a parliamentary party. How many members of parliament do you have? They have about 3 or 5. With respect,
it is the Independence Party.
No.
The country. It has its representation.
No, my friend. Read the law. Our standing order says
this is the noise that Mheshimiwa here said they do in parliament. You shouldn't allow this to happen because it misleads
I'm educating you.
No, this is noise. You're misleading.
Listen to me.
KANU is in parliament.
No. Let me educate you.
You can't make that statement when we have a sitting member of parliament. That's misrepresentation of facts.
You can quote me right. You can go and research. For a party to qualify to be a parliamentary party, you must have 15 members of parliament. He will tell you.
But that doesn't reduce the number of political parties in the country.
I've said there are only 2 parliamentary parties in this country.
I want to agree with you.
Yeah. On the numbers, yes, but that doesn't reduce the parties. Yes.
Sorry, Riara. Sorry. I want to agree with my colleague here that after the 2017 elections, there were 2 major coalitions, NASA and the Jubilee. That is true. But where we differ is that he is stuck in 2017. My friend, we have moved on. When you talk about Jubilee now, which Jubilee are we talking about?
The ruling party.
When we're talking about, so let him get stuck. He's caught in a time warp. Politics is dynamic, and there is a lot that has happened between 2017 and now. And so let him rest about this Jubilee of his. There are so many things that's happening now, and you will be in a very difficult place very shortly, politically.
Fair enough, Mudeora. I'm giving you 30 seconds. I understand we need to go for a break.
Well, I just wanted to caution whoever is watching and Kenyans in general that justice has been confirmed by Mheshimiwa Kamket here. in their political machinations. There are times when they just engage in empty talk that's hollow, just to make noise so that the other side is not heard.
And what are you basing this judgment of hollowness on?
Well, I'm basing it on today's occurrence. You saw a group of members of parliament come and purport how many they are that bring the impeachment on. When we know the numbers that were paraded, when the rubber hits the road, they actually won't stand. It will not hold. They're just posturing. I would actually urge Kamket and those behind the impeachment motion to go ahead and make it happen so that we can get an opportunity to reboot this whole system.
Fair enough. We still have a lot of time, but I understand.
I just want to say something here.
Go ahead.
With all the fairness to my young brother, I think you need to be much more mature. There is no particular group that post just to show that they have the numbers. The press conference that was done in the morning by NASA, they had their own issues. For us who did our press conference in the afternoon, we issued a rejoinder and our statement was clear. So when you come here and you are telling people that they only wanted to show which one has more numbers than the other, I think you are misleading people.
Fair enough, Kariara. Let's hold on that thought. We still have a lot. I understand 15 minutes to go, but let's take another short break here on TV47 Spotlight. We'll be back with this discussion after this break.
For those fun weekends with the baddies, holiday getaways, baby showers, and any other mashup event, we got you back. Welcome to Woodland Resort for comfort and elegance that will ensure your entertainment needs are met. We have a spacious bar area with a round table to maximize on your bonding time with friends. It is stocked with premium, non-premium beers and chilled wines that will get you to cloud nine as you watch your favorite teams battle it out on our well-hinged plasma screens. All this is perfectly crowned and made possible by our caring, always available bartenders to ensure that all your needs are catered for. We can't wait to host you at Woodland Resort. Woodland Resort for comfort and elegance. Located in the outskirts of Kitale Town, Kitale Webuye Road, opposite St. Joseph's Boys Kitale.
Hey, Sospita son. Tumefutwa wote.
Yawa, pia wewe.
Tumeachiliwa.
Si pia wewe unaweza anzisha biashara yako.
Na hii economy venye iko tough sana.
But not too tough for mwananchi credit.
Tutafanya aje?
Si niko na 5 good cars. We can get a quick logbook loan approved within 6 hours.
Nataka kuanzisha salon na spa. Hii haitatosa.
Si tuko na title deeds pay. We can still get more money using them. Get a quick approval within 6 hours using your logbook or title deed. Do not get stuck. Call Mwananchi Credit today. Si nilikuambia.
You are a big smart joke.
Mwananchi Credit. Investor in people.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Thank you as always for making time for us. We have quarter an hour to finish the discussion. Nonetheless, let's shift gears. Kariera, I promised to give you an opportunity to respond. Let me give you that before I ask any question.
Yes, I was making my point to my friend here, Baraza, that the posturing they are doing, when the stone is eventually thrown at them, the kind of scattering that's going to happen will be catastrophic. The impeachment will go through, which I'm hoping will be soon, because if we have to wait until 2022, given how wrong things are going, this nation is going to sink even deeper into this mess that we've been in.
But that impeachment is seeking to impeach the deputy president,
which eventually will start a chain reaction, as we are hoping. In February, there's a group of Kenyans that came together from across the whole nation under a platform called Jukwaa la Ukombozi. And these are dissatisfied Kenyans who have been calling for this government to resign for the way that it has failed the people. So when that happens, it's good for the people because we finally get a chance to clean the slate.
Fair
so
enough.
I hope it happens soon enough.
Point made. Let's get to the position of the DP. Kenya, for instance, since independence has had 11 vice presidents. Only 2 became presidents. Those are Moi and Mwai. Is there a curse around this position? Honorable William Kamkent.
Let me first, let me just say one word on what he said. That, you know, Kina Didi Masia, they are looking at, they have this tunnel vision. They have this tunnel vision that they are waiting for impeachment. That's all, my friend. There are very many ways of skinning a cat. So, so much is happening very soon. You will be seeing things happening in terms of political reaction to their early campaigns. So, I mean, so many things must happen for political reaction to their early campaigns. So they just have to be prepared, like I said, for the consequences. Now, the curse of the office of the deputy president or vice president, that history is awash with that kind of analysis, and that's why one of the reasons why those who succeeded, President Moi succeeded because he bid his time, and God was on his side also, that those who were trying to amend the constitution at that time didn't manage, and somehow when the first president died, he was in office and he became vice president. Mwai Kibaki had to do mileage of running. Did he run how many terms before he became president? He had to lose some mileage after falling out with Moi, and then he went and did those mileage.
Yeah, twice.
Twice, was it twice?
Yes.
Yes. So, and I wouldn't be surprised, my friend, deputy president, will have to do that mileage also. Maybe, you never know, 2032 or 2057, he might be old enough and wiser enough to know that these things, you do not harakisha them. So that is the reality of politics. So as to whether there is a curse, I do not know. It depends on the individual.
Fair enough. And at that point, let me ask you this question, because I want to presume that you support the deputy president.
Yes.
And the president also. Given that Jaramogi...
No. He is a supporter of the deputy president, not the president.
Let him deny or...
No. He cannot lie to us.
Let him on his own words. You support both of them?
No.
I told you Kamgate is a fellow who's confused.
I understand.
Now he's answering questions on my behalf. I need to say here.
I understand we are out of time nonetheless. Given that Jaramogi Odinga, Joseph Murumbi, Jasfat Karanja, George Saitoti, Musalia Mudavadi, Michael Kijana Wamalwa, Mudi Awori, Kalonzo Musyoka, and now the deputy president, take him out of the equation, given that the rest have eyed this particular seat and they haven't in some way not gotten it, where does the confidence of getting it arise from?
Kenyans will go through the election to elect the president not on the basis of whether the previous vice presidents were elected or not. They are going to elect a person on the basis of his track record and what he will tell Kenyans he will do when assuming that particular office. So let us continue humbling ourselves. When God supports a person or makes a decision, whatever happened previously before is non issue. The prophets of doom, the members of the Kamati or Chafu come get, they will continue doing what they are doing now. But as we will focus on what we think is good for this country.
I understand we have a caller. I'll give you a minute to respond. I understand we have a caller, Gilbert from Kericho. Good evening. Hello, TV47.
I want to pose a question to Mheshimiwa Kamtet.
Yes, go ahead.
Concerning the know-how of politics. He's just in his first term in the National Assembly. He's trying to prove that William Ruto does not know much about politics. But to me, I'm glad he's just a first-term MP in Parliament.
But irrespective of the terms, if he has a contribution worth listening to, shouldn't he not be given a chance to?
Does he compare himself with Deputy President in terms of national...
Okay, I think we have gotten the point. Let me allow you to respond to him.
Yeah, that caller, he's calling from Kericho. You know, there are very many people who have been hypnotized. You know, hypnosis is a process where you make somebody believe that this is white, yet it is black. And so I forgive him. Maybe he's one of those people who have been hypnotized, just like Mheshimiwa Barasa here. And you see, if you see Mheshimiwa Barasa and his group nowadays, they have some funny beard. You know, you see the white beard. For him, I think he has turned he painted his black. But you see, from him, I saw Senator for Meru the other day. He has a white beard. I saw him before Soy Caleb Kositany has a white beard. The deputy president himself has a white beard. I am told that they are preparing for some revolution in their minds.
I understand we also have another caller on phone, James Dungo from...
these people...
James from Nakuru, let's take that call first. James. Good evening, James. James, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Go ahead, make your point kindly.
I want to say this, that despite being other deputy presidents not making his president.
Go ahead, James.
I want to tell my brother, Kamtet, that Mr. Ruto, my friend, will make.
There is what?
I'm saying that my friend, the House will make it, despite being the deputy president and others not making it, Ruto will make it. Thank you.
I haven't really gotten what his point is, and unfortunately we have lost him. Nonetheless, we are out of time. Let me read one tweet here. Let me go through that. Good. And it's Nick Mavinda on Twitter says, well, to me, the so-called system is the government, and the DP complaining that he's been isolated is just mere rhetorics, and so that he can get sympathy from people. Ben, let me give you a chance to react to that.
No, you give us parting shots.
Parting shots?
Yes, definitely. But let him react to that.
No, actually, as we wind up, I want to state something very, very specific. As we stand, and as you can even witness from this table, you can imagine we only have 2 members of parliament here. And it is almost completely uncontrollable. So you can imagine when you have 100 on this side and another 100 on this other side. This country is sinking, and some of these sentiments, there are people, as you said, the hypnotization is actually working both sides. There are also people who are listening to you and they believe that now that is the way it should go. And in my view, if there are people who have credible issues around the deputy president, let those facts be presented, not the kind of theatrics we've been treated to in the form of BBI rallies and dancing to reggae music and funny things that we have witnessed. If there are people who have issues with the president, let the same also be presented within the same forums, because as we are aware, and actually if you listen to the majority of Kenyans now are getting agitated and even incited because of the political temperatures that we are witnessing. And if we don't tame this now, I can assure you, we are already setting this country on a path to destruction. We are potentially setting up ourselves on something worse than even what we saw in 2007. And it takes leaders, actually, harmless pronouncements, just thinking that what you're saying is actually what should be on the ground. And it is the responsibility, especially of the elected leaders and all other levels of Kenyans, to ensure that these kinds of outbursts are tamed. We have seen previously individuals insisting that I heard somebody saying that the president is not going to leave this government to a thief. You know, some of those sentiments can have very, very far-reaching connotations to the average Kenyan.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Point made. Thank you.
I think it is time really we tone down on this kind of rhetoric and really focus on the issues that Mwananchi is facing. Why don't the president lead from the front in building the Big Four agenda? He's the one who came up with it. I've not heard about it for the last 2 years.
Because of time, I think you've made your point. Thank you.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, let me give you a minute to make your parting shot as well.
Oh, very well. So what I want to say is that the politics that has been going on, the early campaigns that were begun by Baraza and his team will have to have consequences, and those consequences are coming thick and fast. Within the next 2 weeks, you will see a lot of things happening in terms of the political reaction to that, and so we want to release Baraza and his team, let them go and campaign. As those of us who want to work, continue to work. Let them.
And what we will see in these 2 weeks has nothing to do with politics, or it has something to do with
it's all politics, but it's a reaction to what the early campaign. So we will do things that will make them free. We want to release them to go, because their minds are locked in that tunnel vision of 2022. Let us release them, even from all manner of positions. Let them go and campaign as we wait and we serve Kenyans. Those of us who want to work, we will work and we wait for that time. And then at that time, we will have another people's president somewhere in Urubak, while the real leaders will now be sworn in. Thank you very much.
Because of time, I'll have to interject you at that point. Muthiora Kariara?
Well, I would like to appeal to Kamket when he goes back to what Honorable Baraza here called Committee ya Roho Chafu, that he reminds them that Kenya is a democracy and people can choose who to support. If I'm of a different opinion, let me be. Let peace prevail. Now, it's that victimization that is in the public domain that has made Ruto more popular. But then I would like to remind those supporting him that the kind of support on the ground is not based on the performance of the deputy president. If we ask, what has he done exactly to tell us that he can deliver?
And what do you think it's based on?
It's sympathy, because this other side has pinned him to a corner and they keep attacking him with everything they've got. If they stopped, then perhaps Kenya will be a saner society, which it should be.
Fair enough. Finally, Mheshimiwa Didmas, as you give your parting shot, let me read what Brian Kosgei on Twitter is asking to Mr. Kamket and Baraza. We need answers as to why the country is seemingly divided because of the BBI instead of it uniting Kenyans. Yet you politicians are setting the agenda of impeachment against the deputy president instead of focusing on development. As you respond to him in less than 30 seconds.
I think I want to make it clear that as members of parliament who are aligned to President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, we are ready for anything, for any propaganda that this other side, our competitors, are planning to do. Kamket has just alluded that within 2 weeks, I know they are going to bring what they call an impeachment motion. But I want to tell them that we have had these threats for a very long time. When we came in from recess, they are saying they are going to impeach the leader of majority, they are going to change the House leadership. And I just want to tell them that let them leave the affairs of Jubilee Party. And I want to agree with the scholars who have been saying that development is not just in terms of structures and buildings, but it's also in terms of changing our way of thinking. So I really want to ask my friend Kamget that let them be driven by what will improve this country going forward. And we are tired of all these kind of things that are not important.
As we finalize, will you urge the party you are part of also to focus on development?
They should focus on development.
Absolutely.
And disregard this
Kenyans are very exhausted.
Hiyo ateme hiyo mate ya kusema kwamba wana support rais. Ateme hiyo, kwa sababu ni uongo.
Fair enough, gentlemen. We unfortunately have no time. Thank you. Thank you for making time for us. Ben Mulwa to my immediate left. Mheshimiwa William Kamket, Tiati Member of Parliament. Didmas Baraza, Committee Member of Parliament, and Muthiora Kariara, Political and Governance Analyst. Thank you for making time for us. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of Spotlight. Thanks for watching. On behalf of the entire team that made this production possible, have a lovely evening.